Well, we're getting close to St. Patrick's Day. So, of course, Trump met with the Irish prime minister. They call it a Taoiseach, I think is how you say it. And during the meeting, he was asked about Palestinians being expelled from Gaza. And this is what Trump had to say.
What about the president's plans to expel Palestinians out of Gaza? Are you discussing that with him and giving him your...
Nobody's expelling any Palestinians. I don't know. Who are you with?
I'm with Voice of America, sir.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, Voice of
Okay. So he says no one is expelling the Palestinians. And then he says, who are you with? She gives the outlet. I couldn't quite understand. And then he says, oh, no wonder. Like as if she's asking a ridiculous question. This is actually quite a fair question, considering he's been putting out videos talking about taking over Gaza, saying that he was going to move all the Gaza. This is what's insane about it, is he's acting like this is a crazy question. And this is actually a question we all have, because that's what he's been saying. He's been saying he's going to expel the Palestinians, essentially. I mean, he's not using the word expel, but he's saying we're going to move them somewhere nice, and I'm going to take over the land, and it's going to be this like international zone or something. And there's going to be bearded women dancing and money everywhere, and him and Elon Musk are going to be eating hummus. I mean, we saw the videos. So, with him, he's a character. We don't know ever what Trump is thinking or doing, but this is good. I like to hear him say this. So this isn't a bad thing for him to say no Palestinians are being expelled. But I think we all would like some clarity on what was going through his mind when he was saying he was going to take over Gaza. Maybe it was just some sort of a plan or ploy to get everybody to the negotiation table. I mean, perhaps that's what it kind of is looking like. If he's, who knows? Who knows what tomorrow is going to bring and what he says tomorrow. But that's a good thing that he said no Palestinians are being expelled. We'll take it, and then we'll figure out what he means as time goes on. Okay. Mahmoud Khalil had a hearing today in New York. Lots of activists showed up for this. You can actually see all of these protesters and activists. Susan Sarandon was there speaking. Lots of people showed up to the courthouse. What's crazy about this is he's not there. Mahmoud Khalil is actually in Louisiana. He was detained in New Jersey. He was transferred to Louisiana. And the first preliminary hearing was today in New York. This hearing was procedural. What they're trying to decide is really where his case should be held. Now, those who are wanting to detain him and keep him behind bars or deport him, they want the hearing in Louisiana. His counsel is fighting to actually keep the courts in New York, and there's also a question about New Jersey, because that's where he was first detained. But his attorney, according to his lawyer, his counsel has not been able to actually speak to him. And Ryan Grimm reported also the same thing, spoke to the attorney of Khalil, and the attorney says that she has not been able to have a conversation with him. What kind of a country are we living in right now? What kind of a democracy or due process is this, where the person detained does not have access to legal representation, doesn't have the conversations with their counsel? That seems like the basic first step, and that's not happening. Now, remember, he is a green card holder. That is a permanent resident. They are afforded the same rights as American citizens by and large. They obviously cannot vote, but they are afforded many of the same protections. In fact, all people within the United States borders. The thing about the First Amendment that people are not understanding, because I'm seeing this a lot online, a lot of people saying, well, but he's not an American citizen. He's just a visitor, and so he needs to just shut up and be thankful. That's kind of the sentiment that's going on, that you don't have the right of free speech. You don't have the First Amendment if you're just a visitor on the on U.S. soil. And the courts have actually never ruled like that. The courts have upheld from the beginning of time and time again, that the First Amendment, which includes the right to speech, the right to assembly, the right to religious expression, all of those rights are afforded to all persons within U.S. borders. If you are standing on U.S. territory within U.S. jurisdiction, you have First Amendment rights. They have ruled that over and over and over again. And that even applies to illegals. So even if you're illegally on U.S. soil, you're not authorized to be here, the courts have upheld over and over that the Constitution is written where it says people who are in the United States are afforded the right of the First Amendment. Now, Khalil is not an undocumented or illegal. He is a green card holder. He is a lawful resident, permanent resident of the United States. But this is what his attorney had to say about what's gone on with the case so far and their lack of being able to have a conversation with their clients.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As we tried to make clear in court today, what happened to Mahmoud Khalil is nothing short of extraordinary and shocking and outrageous. It should outrage anybody who believes that speech should be free in the United States of America. Mr. Khalil is a lawful permanent resident who was coming home with his U.S. citizen wife, who was 8 months pregnant, and he was taken by U.S. government agents in retaliation, essentially, for exercising his First Amendment rights, for speaking up in defense of Palestinians in Gaza and beyond, for being critical of the U.S. government and of the Israeli government. Those are the reasons why he was targeted. Those are the reasons why he was detained. And that's the reason why the government also moved him to Louisiana in further retaliation for the fact that on the night of his arrest at home, he filed a habeas corpus petition in this court, which he also had a constitutional right to do. In retaliation for that, he was moved to Louisiana to take him away from his lawyers, to take him away from accessing this court, to take him away from his family and his support network. And so every day that Mahmoud spends in detention in Louisiana is a day too long. We and he fully intend to vindicate not just his First Amendment rights, but those of all Americans, frankly, and all lawful permanent residents, and anybody who wants to speak out. It simply cannot be the case that you can be disappeared at night off the streets of New York City simply because the current U.S. government, the current...
All right, kind of hard to hear because New York for you, all the sirens and whatnot. But okay, I got a little bit of clarity on what they're fighting for. So the hearing today, it looks like the Department of Justice attorneys, they're trying to move the proceedings out of New York to either New Jersey, where Khalil was initially taken out after his arrest, or to Louisiana, where he is currently being detained. So Khalil's attorneys, which apparently he's got 19 different attorneys trying to represent him because this case is a major First Amendment case, they are trying to keep that case in New York, and the Department of Justice is trying to move the case. Now, remember, he was accused of committing these supposed crimes, which they're not even accusing him of crimes. They're just accusing him of speech they don't like. And that speech happened in New York. So there is a good reason for the case to happen in New York. If you kill somebody in a particular area, that's where you face trial. That's where you're supposed to go to court. So it makes sense why they'd want the case to be in New York. But I also understand why the Department of Justice would rather have this in a court they think is friendlier to, or I guess, more hostile to the First Amendment. What is that saying about those judges in Louisiana? They're also fighting, the attorneys for Khalil are also fighting for at least one phone call to be allowed to him, or for Khalil to be allowed, one call on Wednesday and also one call on Thursday with his counsel as they prepare to meet briefing deadlines. So he's not even getting access to his attorneys. I mean, this is insanity. So much for the free speech party. So much for that whole notion of freedom and, we're the freedom-loving freedom party. I mean, that's out the window when it comes to, we only meant that for the speech that we like and when the Democrats were against us. But if we don't like certain groups of people, Palestinians speaking up against Israel, then they need to be deported. They need to be sent away. I mean, again, the First Amendment applies to all persons on U.S. soil, in U.S. jurisdiction. That's who it applies to. Let's watch this video, though. This is of Khalil talking about his life, his family, how they ended up as refugees. And I just wanted to share this with you. This is not recent, like as in, he's detained, so we haven't been able to hear from him. But this is just kind of for you to get an understanding of who he is.
I was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp in southern Damascus in Syria. My family's history in Palestine actually goes back to as long as my grandparent could trace it. They lived in a very small village right next to Tiberias. Mostly they were farmers. My grandmother, she used to tell us that she had Jewish neighbors. They would share a piece of land where they would farm it. Tiberias was one of the first cities that the Zionists targeted in 1948 with ethnic cleansing. In April 1948, a month before the Nakba, the Zionist militias, they burned one of their villages. When they heard the news about it, they had to leave immediately. Some of the men went to fight. Big families, they had to go to Syria. My grandmother, she was pregnant at that time. She had to walk 40 miles. She gave birth on the way. When they arrived in the refugee camp, they thought it's just a matter of days until they would go back. They did not want to be killed because they heard about the horror stories across Tiberias. My dad was born in a tent. His family lived in that tent until like mid-70s when they upgraded to small structures. In the 90s, they finally kind of like had concrete buildings. To us, it was always a temporary home until we go back to Palestine.
Just giving you an idea of who he is. Doesn't seem like he's anybody other than somebody trying to fight against a genocide. And here in the United States, we believe in the right to assemble, protest, speak your mind. Some are saying, well, I hear this a lot also. Well, you're not allowed to come to our country and hate our country. That's not something you should be allowed to do, is come here and hate our country. Is he hating on America or Israel? Which one's our country? I'm so confused by this. Is Israel part of the United States? Because it sure seems like it. I mean, the amount of our government, the Congress people, the senators that are just out in droves protecting the state of Israel. At what point? I think that the vast majority of people at this point understand that our entire government has been subverted. And they are senators like Tom Cotton, constantly coming out with new agendas and legislations to protect Israel. I mean, at what point, Tom, are you going to do something for American citizens? I would sure like to know. What are you doing there? What are any of them doing there? But here they are attacking an American value, which is free speech for all. And not even just, we don't even believe that this is just for people on American soil. We actually promote that idea for every single person in the world. And we dispute those governments that say they do not believe in the right to free speech. You have J.D. Vance going to Europe saying, how dare you not allow people the right to free speech? And here we are just being absolute hypocrites on the issue. We have to fight for our rights. We have to continue fighting for this, and we have to fight it for all people, whether you agree with their beliefs or not, whether they are American citizens or not. We have to, if we are truly going to be part of a freedom movement where we're allowed to speak our minds, then it's got to be for everybody, including a Palestinian with a green card here in the United States with an American wife and an American baby on the way, protesting the U.S. support for a genocide. It's got to apply to him as well. We will keep following this case because it is such an important free speech case. Just like J6, we followed J6. That was an important free speech case. And this one is no different. I just wish that people would stop being so partisan and tribal and everybody would get together. And many are. And what I love seeing about the GOP side of things is you even have Ann Coulter. I mean, even Ann is like, wait a minute, I'm all about deporting anybody and everybody, but isn't this kind of a violation of the First Amendment? I mean, even when Ann Coulter is saying that, then you know that the right is not right on this. And what's really amazing to see is how the GOP has infighting on this. And that is refreshing because Democrats don't have infighting on anything. They just all fall in line. So it's really great to see that, yes, there are a bunch of Republicans who claim to be all freedom loving, and they're all about this guy being deported, saying, yeah, but, freedom for me, but not for thee. They're all about that. But it is also really great to see a lot of people on the GOP side actually fighting for his right to free speech. And that is really refreshing. And that is why I think that the right isn't, the GOP, the MAGA base, the freedom movement there is not lost like it was totally with Democrats. I mean, they were long gone. They just zombied out, follow the leader. Doesn't matter, just say what you're told to say. And it is refreshing that the GOP at least has a fighting chance. So we will keep following this case because it is such an important free speech case for all of us. Are you a yo-yo dieter? You diet, you lose weight, but then you gain it all back, plus a few extra pounds, and later you lose it. and regain it again and again, well, that's dangerous. Studies show that can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason doctors created Lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection. You don't need a prescription. The science behind Lean is really impressive. Its natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. So listen, if you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created for you. And let me get you started with 20% off when you enter Kim20 at takelean.com. That is Kim20 at takelean.com, or you could use that QR code and it'll take you right there. But again, takelean.com, use code Kim20 for that 20% off. You've been watching a clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.